Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to PT World special transmission on Prime Minister Imran Khan visit to China. Prime Minister Imran Khan is on a 4-day visit to China on a special invitation by Chinese leadership. Prime Minister has attended the colorful Beijing Olympic so far in the China in Beijing, and he also held various meetings on the sidelines with academians and leading think tank representatives, and also Prime Minister Imran Khan met with Chinese Premier Li Keqiang. Now, to talk more about it, we have Mr. Amir Hussain, columnist and journalist, with us in studio, and also Ms. Tahmina Janjua, former Foreign Secretary, is also on Skype with us. Thanks a lot for joining us. Now, Ms. Tahmina, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, wonderful. Now, what do you think about this, I would say, the historic visit of Prime Minister Imran Khan to China? What kind of bilateral and economic outcomes we are expecting by this visit?
The Prime Minister's visit is an important one because it comes after a long delay at the highest level, the meeting between the two heads of leadership as well. The reason is, of course, there was COVID that had taken place, and hence meetings could not take place earlier. So this is an opportunity to not only discuss bilateral relations, regional issues, as well as international scenario as it exists right now. It also provides an opportunity for the Prime Minister to discuss with the Chinese leadership matters of interest to both countries, especially in the area of economic cooperation and CPEC in particular. The outcomes are going to be based, of course, on conversations between the leaders of the two countries. One meeting with the Premier has taken place. The next meeting is going to be with President Xi. And these both will provide opportunities for the leadership to have detailed discussions, deep conversations on all issues of interest to both countries. Of course, it also provides an opportunity for both countries to discuss CPEC. The meeting that took place between the Prime Minister and the chairman of the NDRC yesterday was very important because it gave an opportunity. It was a virtual meeting because of COVID, of course, providing an opportunity for a detailed discussion on CPEC-related issues. The Prime Minister has had several meetings before going to China, internal meetings, which then were preparatory ones for what discussions would take place in Beijing. Hence, the outcomes would be related to the high-level leadership meetings and the discussion with regard to CPEC.
Now, ma'am, you just mentioned about the CPEC. Now, we know that the second phase of the CPEC will be initializing very soon. Now, what's the difference between first and second phase of CPEC, and how this particular visit of Prime Minister will leave an impact on CPEC boosting?
Well, the first phase of CPEC, as you know, was focused on energy infrastructure development, and a lot of projects took place to implement those projects. The second phase is now going to deal with socioeconomic projects, which for the moment there have been 19 projects under CPEC that have been implemented, while 28 are under implementation and another 41 are in the pipeline. In addition to this, there are 17 socioeconomic projects which have been fast-tracked, while another list of 10 socioeconomic projects is in the finalization stage to be fast-tracked. As you said, an action plan on agricultural cooperation is also being discussed and will be signed between the two countries. So these are the areas in which there will be further discussion, further implementation of CPEC-related projects that will be done.
Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Amir Hussain, we're going to ask a few things from you now. Now, what do you think about this? Prime Minister Imran Khan talked about the Kashmir issue. Obviously, Prime Minister Imran Khan always highlight the Kashmir issue on international fora. So he also highlighted the Indian atrocities and the blatant Indian atrocities which are taking place in Kashmir right now, and also appreciated and thanked Chinese government for their unwarranted support in Kashmir issue. Do you think Chinese support will help us waking up the international community in Kashmir dispute?
Well, I think that was a very appropriate forum to discuss Kashmir issue, because it has been for a long time the international community has not taken it seriously for many reasons, the UN resolutions and all that. But the Prime Minister Imran Khan has rightly put together a narrative which will actually help Pakistan to further move into diplomatic circles, taking forward the Pakistani stance on dispute of Jammu and Kashmir. I think the China has always been supportive as long as the Kashmir issue is concerned and other issues are concerned. This time, when it is Prime Minister is launching this debate from China, which has a significance because China, Pakistan, and all other regional powers want stability in the region. And if we want a larger, broad-based peace in the region, it has to be started with the resolution of Kashmir issue.
Absolutely.
And I think there is no confusion whatsoever, because the UN resolutions are well drafted. Resolution 47 clearly spells out the rights of people of the Jammu and Kashmir, and it is now India's turn to show some, diplomatic positive gestures towards a solution. And because their atrocities are so grave that we can see a lot of massacre, the violence that is state-run terrorism that is going on in Indian-held Kashmir. I think this is the right moment, and Imran Khan, Prime Minister, has put rightly across this very important message through China, which is our long-term friend.
Right. Now, we know that a couple of days ago, Indian opposition leader Rahul Gandhi came up with a statement that due to Modi's strategies, Pakistan and China are getting more closer. What's your take on that?
Absolutely, because the Modi is, of course, the Modi regime, the Hindutva philosophy of fascism,
Absolutely,
is actually disintegrating Indian socio-economic fabric itself. The Indian secular posture is being challenged, and many people within India and the political forces who oppose Modi, they think that the Modi regime, the doctrine of Hindutva is disintegrating India, and also it is posing threat to the regional countries. Look at what Indians did in Ladakh. They invaded Chinese territory and they had to come back, and they did with Pakistan as well. I think this is very important, that the Modi's strategic, I should not say strategic, but it's a fascist movement, the motions and the international exposure of Modi regime as a right-wing regime is creating a lot of voices where India, if we want to see stability, we have to create a larger balance with China, Pakistan, and other regional countries who should come together to counter this narrative, which is really dangerous.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, viewers, we are joined by Sara Afzal, a journalist from Beijing, China. Sara, thanks a lot for joining us, and welcome to BTV World.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much.
Walaikum salam. Now, Sara, Prime Minister Imran Khan interacted with the business community as well in Beijing. What do you think how the Chinese leading prominent business community and the business people are seeing Pakistan, how they see Pakistan as a potential market, especially after establishment of these special economic zones under CPEC?
Today and tomorrow they were very busy days for Prime Minister Imran Khan, and he met with, actually had a virtual meeting with Chairman of China National Development and Reform Commission, that is NDRC, and Vice Chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. So After that, as this meeting was very much important regarding the CPEC projects, and both sides discussed the preparation and future initiatives in this meeting. But you were talking about, as you talked about, the special economic zones. So Pakistani Prime Minister had a meeting again with the businessman, the leading businessman, Chinese corporate sector, and the state-owned industries, and the chairmen of those industries. And can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I thought my voice is not actually reaching you. Okay. Prime Minister Imran Khan actually held a series of meetings with leaders of China's leading state-owned and some private companies. And the corporate leaders briefed the Prime Minister about the progress of their ongoing projects in Pakistan. And they evinced keen interest in expanding investment in Pakistan in projects related to recycling of metals and paper, energy, textile, fiber optic network, housing, and water management. Prime Minister really appreciated their keen interest and their urge to invest in Pakistan. And he mentioned that Pakistani government is actually creating a conducive environment for Chinese investment in Pakistan and encourage them to benefit from it, especially in the CPEC special economic zones.
Okay. All right. Sarah, also, please tell us about the meetings Prime Minister Imran Khan held with the other international leaders in Beijing.
Okay. Today, Pakistani Prime Minister had a meeting with the Chinese Premier, Li Keqiang, and in that meeting, obviously the bilateral issues, the regional issues, especially the Kashmir and Afghan issues, had been discussed. And as Prime Minister always emphasized that peaceful and stable and prosperous Afghanistan is vital for regional stability, as well as infrastructure and connectivity projects are also very vital. So here, both the Prime Ministers agreed that the key for the regional stability is prosperity and peace. And in the region, if we want this to flourish, we should maintain peace among all the countries and do not intervene in any country's interior issues. And along with that, Prime Minister also stressed that international community should take notice and pay attention to the Indian atrocities in Kashmir. And he stressed that this oppression is it's very dangerous. And this behavior, aggressive behavior, which you just talked about, the Hindutva, prevailing Hindutva ideology, is a threat to regional peace.
Okay, all right. Now stay with us, and then Amir Saab, let's talk about, Sarah just pointed out about the Afghan issue. Prime Minister Imran Khan clearly said in Beijing that a stable Afghanistan, peaceful and prosperous Afghanistan is in the mutual interest of both Pakistan and China, and obviously for the region. Now, and the world should not leave Afghans in this difficult time. He said that in Beijing. What do you think, how this will actually impact in the world community? Do you think that if China will get more involved in this regard, then are we expecting any results, positive results from world community?
Well, I think the message was loud and clear, and it was an important message from the perspective that there is common threat for Pakistan and China if there is no peace in Afghanistan. Because the Chinese, BRI projects, which are Belt and Road Initiative, which is a global and the regional project, and the connectivity is directly linked to stability in Afghanistan and the region. Because the Central Asian region is an important region which connected through Afghanistan. And this is unfortunate that the world community has left Afghans alone. Now, after 20 years of Western forces who were there, who didn't bring any transition toward democracy, but now when Afghans are alone and they are struggling for their daily life because there's food insecurity issues, there is a lot of internal despair, unemployment, and
Right.
the number of issues are there. So I think unless those issues are addressed, there's not going to be any stability in Afghanistan. So I think from Chinese side, it should be both an economic package for Afghanistan, also to negotiate and engage with Taliban for the regional stability and peace. I think negotiation and engagement is the only way forward. There is no any there is no any military solution right now because it has to be a diplomatic solution. Of course, I mean we think that Pakistan, Afghanistan, China, there are two ways to look at this stability. One is the economic and the political stability. Second is the ecological stability, because the upper Indus Basin, which Pakistan, India, China, and Afghanistan, they share together, and it's the largest water resource in the region. So I think from ecological point of view, from political and from economic side, these three major dimensions are important for the regional peace and stability, and Pakistan and China can play a pivotal role to establish that. For that, they have to join hands and they have to step up economic and political support for Afghanistan.
Absolutely. Now, we go back to Ms. Tahmina Jinjua. Ma'am, we know that Prime Minister Imran Khan is having a meeting with President Xi Jinping tomorrow. What do you think, what are the possible outcomes of that particular meeting?
Well, obviously, it will depend on the conversations that will be held with President Xi. And these conversations with President Xi I have been witness to them as well, are extremely useful and are broad in perspective. There are the detailed work is done with the Premier, which must have been done today. But tomorrow there will be conversations, I would understand, on regional issues, on global issues, and on the importance of the relationship between the two countries, and the fact that there is this very important strategic partnership. The outcome, I understand, would be a greater understanding between the two countries at the top leadership level of what issues this region is facing and how to deal with them effectively. I think it is a great opportunity, considering the fact that China has been very closed as far as, because of COVID, in holding these high-level meetings. Pakistan, the Prime Minister has had this occasion to meet with President Xi, an important occasion, and and therefore the discussions will be broad, but will be also based on deeply understanding the interest of both countries at this difficult time when there are regional issues to be dealt with. Afghanistan, you've already spoken about. There is a question of the presence of the Quad and what the Quad intends to do, and of course, Pakistan's importance and relevance to this region and to China, and China's relevance and importance to Pakistan.
Right. Okay. Now, we're also joined by Dr. Waqar Ahmed, Joint Executive Director, SDPI, with us. Dr. Saab, thanks a lot for joining us and welcome to BTV World.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, as we know that Prime Minister Imran Khan also interacted by a leading businessman in China, in Beijing, and he talked about the incentives which the Pakistan government will offer to the foreign investors. What sort of incentives are we talking about here?
Yes, thank you. I think Prime Minister spoke very comprehensively about various fiscal packages which have already been in place for attracting Chinese investment. These, of course, include tax breaks as well as relatively reduced regulatory burden in special economic zones of Pakistan. But also, of course, in specific sectors, Chinese investors could have a relatively relaxed tax regime. And this, of course, in comparison to the Far East or other countries where Chinese investment is aiming to go, it could be relatively attractive for them to come to Pakistan. Prime Minister has also stressed on not only the investment relationship, he's also stressed upon the trade relationship and the fact that Pakistan's free trade agreement with China is now delivering fruits, and the relationship is not one-sided. In fact, Pakistan's exports to China have increased, and most notably in food and agriculture, we are seeing an increase over there. And Prime Minister has invited the Chinese private sector to invest in these sectors which have export potential in Pakistan, and not only reap benefits but also export back to China.
Now, also, Dr. Saab, we know that the 9 SEZs, the special economic zones, are being established, and 3 of them are at the advanced stage at the moment. Please shed some light on these SEZs.
Yes, thank you. So I think initially, of course, the civil work has taken some time, but now, of course, we are seeing that the Chinese interest has really grown. And previously, of course, we saw that the SEZ in Punjab was gaining an interest, and we saw several Chinese enterprises come over there. They have invested over there, and we have seen that even production has started in their units. It is only now that we have seen success in other special economic zones as well. And we have recently seen one of the Chinese entities, Century Steel, which has set up in Russia economic zone. And I think this is a very good sign, because others are going to follow suit as well. Additionally, what is noticeable is that it is not just the Chinese state-owned enterprises whose interest we are noticing in special economic zones, but also the Chinese private sector, which is now willing to come in as well. We have seen their interest in manufacturing of mobile phones. We are seeing it in the interest of auto parts, for example, and various wide variety of large-scale manufacturing industries.
Now, Dr. Saab, also China has advantage in technology and financially as well, and on the other hand, Pakistan enjoys favorable conditions in terms of laborers and manpower. What do you think with jointly with the collaboration, what the results would be?
Yes, I think there is a good intent on both sides, and there is a sincere effort to create business-to-business relationships, deepen business-to-business relationships. And as you have seen, that Prime Minister has stressed during his visit that now that restrictions of COVID are eased, business delegations should be promoted on both sides for B2B matchmaking and joint ventures. And I think that the last 2 years, the constraints that they imposed due to COVID and a physical restriction on movement of people, movement of skilled workers, of course, these restrictions would now be lifted, and one would able to see not just vibrant trade in goods, but also vibrant trade in services as well going forward. I think one of the interesting implications, or one of the recent developments, is that our trade with China, a large part of it is being done in the Chinese currency, which has reduced our reliance on US dollar. So having to do almost around $15 billion of trade, $15 billion of trade in Chinese currency could really put a lot of pressure off the foreign exchange reserve.
Right. Okay, Amr Saab, back to you now. What do you think about the a major concern and the major question which is being raised in every mind at the moment is that everyone has the eyes on the CPEC right now, because that's a game changer. That's what it's called. So what do you think this visit of Prime Minister Imran Khan, how it will impact on the CPEC?
I think certainly it will gain some impetus and some momentum, because we see that the early harvest projects were done quite efficiently, and there are some other projects which are in the pipeline, like the SSGs are being established, and the second and third generation projects are really important from the perspective of Pakistan. The first projects were all about infrastructures, and which also help Pakistan to improve its internal mobility in terms of trade and commerce. But I think now Pakistan wants to switch from an import-oriented economy to export-oriented economy. For that, you have to have the technology transfer. The China has potential to transfer technology, the skills, and also I think the way this discourse, the business discourse, has been put together in China is going to impact in the long run. For example, this Waqar was mentioning that the business-to-business interaction is important. So I think this will lead to a business-to-business interaction as well. This will also lead to create some sort of more consideration towards bringing CPEC in the limelight again, because it's a huge potential project. Pakistan wants to create a larger, broader network of business and trade to offset the pressure that it is now experiencing because of the over indebtedness and the foreign aid and the foreign debt. I think this is the way that if the economy start to grow at 6 or 7%, for example, that we can easily offset the burden that we are feeling right now. And the CPEC is the most important project in doing that.
Absolutely. Yep. Now, back to you, Ms. Tamina. How do you think we know that, and I was just talking to Amir Hussain Saab about the same thing, that I don't think right now India is very happy on Prime Minister's visit to China. What's your take on this, how India is feeling at the moment?
Well, I don't think we should worry about India, because India always feels sad about anything that happens good to Pakistan. And I think we should just remain focused, and that's what the Prime Minister has done. He's remained focused on relations with China, on the fact that Pakistan, on the fact that he's wanted to bring back CPEC in the limelight, and to focus on it from a practical perspective, because I think this visit of the Prime Minister is one, not only to have these deep conversations on important political issues with the leadership, with the Chinese leadership, but also to have a practical perspective on how to move forward on CPEC. He said it himself when he was speaking to media people, that CPEC has always been said it was a game changer, but he said it was the most important investment, it was the most important thing that was happening as far as Pakistan was concerned and Pakistan's economic development was concerned. The Indians have always been very, very upset about CPEC, but CPEC is a reality and they have to live with it. And I think it will be difficult for them. They will continue to raise it as an issue. But as far as Pakistan is concerned, I think the Prime Minister is doing the right thing to remain focused on CPEC, to remain focused on the importance of the relationship that Pakistan has with China, the fact that it is an all-weather strategic cooperative partnership, something that has not been said before for any other relationship that China has with any other country. This all-weather concept is one which is underscored by the entire leadership at all stages, at all levels of the Chinese government. So India, we should not worry about it.
Right. Now, ma'am, do you think that the strategy or the planning between Pakistan and China will be changed a little bit after these interactions in order to boost or expedite the projects like CPEC?
I think there have been constant conversations. There is the joint working group that takes place, the JCC that takes place, which has a number of 11 joint working groups under it. And in that, there is constant conversations. I think the last meeting of the JCC was held in September 2021, at which there has been discussions on how to move things forward. And then the Prime Minister's recent meetings, very focused meetings with different sectors in Pakistan, with also different parts of the government in Pakistan, have helped to clarify where Pakistan should be moving with the Chinese on it. And I think the current conversation, the meeting with the chairman of the NDRC will be critical in ensuring that CPEC sort of gets greater traction in Pakistan. The traction had gone a little slow because of COVID, because of the fact that COVID had made it difficult for travel to take place, for information sharing, direct information sharing to take place, and for work to take place on ground. So I think these meetings in Beijing will be extremely important. Not only the meeting with the NDRC chairman, with the business leaders, with the media, with the academics, with the Chinese leadership, are going to be critical in helping us move forward on the economics there.
And one thing is for sure that we know that Chinese investors showed a lot of keenness to invest in Pakistan. Do you think after this Prime Minister's visit, we are expecting new investors from China as well?
I think there is clear messages that the Chinese investors are interested in investing in Pakistan. But for that, I think the document that's been prepared by the government on what are the incentives, what are the possibilities, all of that for Chinese investors, all of that needs to be seriously taken into account. So we need to take a number of steps at our end as well. One of the reasons for a slowdown was also because we've had some bureaucratic bottlenecks in Pakistan as well, as far as the implementation of some of the projects are concerned. So those need to be removed. So the Prime Minister, having taken leadership in chairing meetings of CPEC and also having taking all the points from Pakistan to China, will also have to continue to keep a very keen and close eye on what is happening as far as the incentives being provided to Chinese investors are concerned. We provided a good document to the Chinese, but that document needs to be implemented and it needs an all of government approach so that it is not left to some in some bureaucratic bottlenecks do not affect it.
Right. Okay. Now, Sarah, back to you now. Let's talk about the Prime Minister Imran Khan's visit's initial phase, where he actually attended the opening ceremony of Beijing Winter Olympics in Beijing. Please share the details of Prime Minister Imran Khan's when he attended that particular ceremony there.
Yes, that ceremony was a big event, and as I mentioned earlier, that it was a busy day. And the most important thing is that at the time when the few countries actually created some stir by saying we are boycotting. So at this time, the visit of Prime Minister was very important, very significant. It's a symbol that Pakistan is always standing with China in every condition, in every situation. And as we have a very long and very strong history of our relationship, of our friendship, and our very strong, both the countries faced very tough timings, and we both were stayed together with each other. So yes, this Olympic ceremony was a symbol of a strong friendship, and it further strengthened the bilateral relationship.
Right. Okay. Now, Amir Saab, let's talk about the geopolitical, situation here. Do you think Prime Minister Imran Khan's visit will actually make any impact on the geopolitical situation here?
Yeah, I think one of the key drivers of the internal political dimension in Pakistan and the debate that is being created is the switch from geostrategic interest to geoeconomics.
Absolutely.
I think geoeconomics is one of the area where this engagement, the Prime Minister wants to create an engagement space with neighbors like China, and even having interaction with India. If it comes forward with positive gestures for resolution of Kashmir issue, and then stability in Afghanistan, looking at the Central Asian potential for trade. I think that kind of debate, that kind of wisdom that needs to come in. As far as geopolitics is concerned, absolutely, Pakistan has to strike a balance by associating itself with the larger economic and political might of China, because India has always been a threat for the regional stability, as you know, with current regime in particular. And but internally, Pakistan has to do a lot of homework. For example, institutional reforms are important. The bureaucracy, as was told earlier, the bureaucracy needs to be curtailed to its size and try to prioritize the geo-economic interest of the country. For example, the first thing is to try to make sense of all interaction that we make, that we are here to create a larger space for economic stability and economic growth for Pakistan. I think that kind of a direction is, I can feel that Prime Minister is trying to strike such sort of deal where Pakistan can go back to geo-economic path to create a bigger economy and a prosperity for its people.
Now, also Prime Minister Imran Khan assured the Chinese investors about the protection of their property and their lives as well, because there were some incidents which took place in the past. But do you think that will encourage the Chinese investors to actually move to Pakistan with their investments?
Absolutely, because the ease of doing business, the ranking has improved. Pakistan has improved a lot, and I think international investors look at the potential possibility. There are two possible potentials. One is our population, the youth population, which will be a great potential for international investors. And secondly, Pakistan is located in a very important strategic point for China, for its westward expansion through BRI. I think this particular geostrategic positioning, plus the current initiatives to engage the business people and interacting with the trade and commerce, I think that is going to help a great deal.
Right. Okay, well, thank you so much, Amir Hussain Saab, Sara Afzal, Tahmina Janjua, and Dr. Waqar Ahmed Saab for being with us today and sharing your views on our show today. Now, the whole point is, viewers, that the incumbent government is shifting the foreign policy from geopolitics to geoeconomy. And Prime Minister Imran Khan's visit to China is the manifestation of this policy. And so far, everything is indicating that this particular Prime Minister visit will be very fruitful. And we hope that it will be fruitful, and things are, like I said, they are going in the right direction. With this, we conclude our today's show. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care of yourself and each others. Allah Hafiz.